Every day I walked past the Duomo, I made it a priority to climb it before leaving Florence. All 463 steps to the top of the cupola of Santa Maria del Forte.
I have been wanting to do this since I arrived here. It's sort of nice that I'm doing it at the end of my trip to sort of round everything out.
There's no elevator and the stairs become narrower, steeper and more claustrophobic the higher you go. And on this very hot day, it was a little overwhelming. But the history of this building kept me going. The Duomo took nearly 140 years to build. Filippo Brunelleschi designed the dome in the 1400s, and he invented entirely new architectural methods to do it. No one had ever built a dome that size without scaffolding, and people genuinely believed it was impossible. His engineering was so ahead of its time that modern architects still study it today. Inside, the ceiling fresco, The Last Judgment, took over 10 years to complete. It spans nearly 4,000 square meters and is one of the largest frescoes in the world. The biggest painting I have ever done took about 10 months, and that felt like a lifetime. As a modern painter with a relatively short attention span, I always try and take a page from history, slow down, and attune myself to slower and more considered times. Rome and Florence was not built in a day, and it shows. Good things take time, amazing things take a long time. At the top, the view truly took my breath away. Seeing the streets I'd walked every day, the little alleys I'd memorized, the church outside my apartment, and even my apartment window, it felt so surreal. Florence is a sea of terracotta rooftops, warm earth tones, and ancient stone, and I'm always just so amazed at how well the city has withstood the hundreds of years and millions of tourists. I love how the city has stayed so true to its historical past by only embracing the old design and never modernizing the city. Florence actually has incredibly strict preservation laws to protect its Renaissance identity. Modern buildings aren't allowed in the city centre, and lighting, signage, even window materials must reflect historical tradition. This really allows me to see and feel how it would have felt for artists like Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Leonardo da Vinci. Walking home after a long day painting would have felt the same for me as it did for them, or I like to imagine that it does. The same stones, the same views, the same river, and the same golden light. Florence truly is the birthplace of the Renaissance, and when you're here, you feel that history gently pressing into your skin every single day.
My place is just there.
So after spending the last few months studying art in Florence, I am overflowing with inspiration. Everything from Renaissance architecture and sculptural forms to soft terracotta tones. I keep getting the question, what will my artworks look like when I return from Florence, and how has this experience changed me? I actually don't think I realized how much it had changed me until I started painting again. Something in the way I see the world has shifted. Colors feel richer, everyday shapes feel more abstract, and I'm finding myself drawn to compositions I probably wouldn't have considered before. I'm no longer hesitant to use colour, as now I understand how I can use it while still remaining true to my own style and the softness I've always loved. So as I start preparing for my next collection after returning from Florence, I've been collecting reference photos and making notes on colour, textures and atmosphere. Anything that reminds me of that feeling that Florence left with me and that captures the mood of where I want to go next. So I've been laying everything out inside Milanote so I can see how all of these threads connect. Before I started using Milanote, I actually used to print everything out. Literally everything. My inspiration images, colour palettes, tiny thumbnails of compositions, and pin them up around the studio so I could see the whole direction of the collection at once. The downside was that it used up a lot of paper and ink, and that process took a long time, and when I'd finished, I'd either have to take it all down and throw it out, or it would end up shoved in a cupboard forever. I also tried Google Docs for a while, but if you've ever tried placing images exactly where you want them to go in a Google Doc, it just never worked for the way my brain thinks visually. I've always been someone who has ideas coming in from all directions all day. Notes on my phone, screenshots, photos from shoots, sketches on scrap paper, colour palettes and old references. So having one place I can bring everything together, images, text, videos, voice notes and colour swatches has honestly been so inspiring, and it feels like giving my ideas a proper home instead of letting them float around in chaos. Milanote is basically note-taking for creatives. It's an online visual workspace built for planning, brainstorming and organising creative projects, and it's become a huge part of my artistic process. It lets me take the chaos inside my head and actually organise it into something that makes sense. And I don't just use Milanote for visual and creative mind maps, I also use it to brain dump all of my admin tasks alongside the creative projects I have on the go, helping to organize every aspect of my life. I can create notes and to-do lists right alongside my mood board, so every part of the project lives together in this really intuitive visual way. And the best part is that I can open up the board on my phone and add to it instantly, whether I'm in the studio or out on a walk, at a gallery, or even at a photo shoot while everyone's standing there and we're communicating ideas quickly. And speaking of photo shoots, this is a little sneak peek into my next collection for 2026. I recently had a shoot to gather the reference images for my new paintings. Some of you might recognize my beautiful model Bella. Her husband commissioned a portrait of her from me last year, and it became one of my favorite artworks I've ever created. So when I started planning this new collection inspired by Florence, I knew I wanted her to be a part of it again. There's something really timeless about her presence and expression that felt perfect for the direction of this next series. Sometimes words just really aren't enough when you're trying to explain a creative vision. You can say soft lighting or warm tones or Renaissance-inspired composition, but those phrases mean different things to different people, and having a visual mood board up on my phone meant Bella and I could be on the same page and see exactly what we were aiming for: the poses, the feeling, and the atmosphere. All of it was right there to reference on the shoot. And that kind of shared vision not only keeps everyone aligned, but it actually gives your team space to bring their own creativity into the project. They aren't guessing, making collaborative projects so much richer. Another feature I love is that everyone involved can comment directly on the board. Their name appears under their note, so it becomes this little hub of ideas that grows and evolves as the project moves forward. When you're working on something as visual and layered as an art collection, that kind of communication makes such a big difference. And if you're someone who isn't quite sure where to start, Milanote has a huge library of templates: mood boards, project planners, storyboards, shot lists, as well as weekly planners, financial spreadsheets, and everything in between. They make it super easy to get the ball rolling, especially if you're a little overwhelmed or you're staring at a blank canvas, not quite knowing what your aesthetic direction is yet. One of my absolute favorite features of using Milanote is the web clipper tool. It lets you save photos, links, and text directly from your browser into your Milanote board through a Chrome extension. No saving files, no dragging images around, and no copying, pasting, or downloading required. I can clip it instantly and it's saved right where I need it. Whether I'm brainstorming alone in the studio or working with a whole team on a shoot, Milanote keeps everything beautifully organized, accessible, and easy to refine as ideas evolve. And the best part is you can start using Milanote completely free with no time limit. It's such a beautiful space to give your creativity a home. So if you'd like to give it a try, you can sign up for free using the link in the description box below. I am lucky enough to be staying right next to the Duomo with a view. I just thought I would try and create a really beautiful memory of this place by painting it from my window. And this is my little tuft of hair. Anyway, I'm trying to blend it into my hair, but it just keeps getting longer and more obvious. I hate this painting. It's honestly one of the worst paintings I have ever seen. And I did it, so I'm going to paint over it. Really work out. And I was trying to be really loose with the leaves and create a really dappled tree expression. It's so bad. It's so bad. I just can't even anyway, let's get painting.
amazing, but it's an improvement from the artwork underneath it. My mum always signed her artwork CR. Same initial.